get more mature laboratory research out into the actual commercial world and into the clinic. And the best example of that to date is Organovo, which is a company that does three-dimensional tissue printing from your own cells. You take autologous cells from bone marrow, incubate them, and you take the particular cells under numerical machine control, and you print the right cell to the right place, and basically build up the tissue from the bottom up. So the current tissues that they can make are arteries. So these are real honest-to-God arteries that have their own ability to pulsate. These are not veins.
Wow.
So their next effort will be to produce nerves. So these are both structures that have significant length to them, and once you have vascularity and innervation, you can then go to larger scale organs. So, of course, I'm not the company, so they're the best to represent their own product plan. But we were you could say, the founding investor, and on the strength of our investment and certainly their technology, they were able to get $1 million of investment in the middle of the worst market crash ever.
Yeah, you know, that is pretty amazing. You know, that brings me back to the point that you brought up in the beginning about doing good and hoping to save some lives out there. And from my perspective, what I've seen is people, even through this recession and depression, whatever you want to call it, have been very generous when it comes to still funding life extension research or biomedical companies. I'm been very uplifted by that, and it seems as though you've seen some of that as well.
Well, you know, you may or may not be aware that we have a group of committed givers, and I'm sure that many of Women's members are also members of our group, the 300.
The 300.
So we have had almost 0 dropouts, and so that's a real testament to the tenacity and the commitment of the donor group who just will not give up in seeing this thing through. Okay. So, of course, that makes my job possible, not to mention easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the 300. They commit to donate $1,000 every year to Methuselah Foundation, correct?
That's right. So, or $85 a month.
Right.
You know, whatever it works out to equal $1,000 a year. About a quarter, 25% of our donors have already donated the entire $25,000 commitment.
Oh,
$1,000 a year for 25 years. So it's been a material blessing, if you will, in making the foundation an effective agent for change.
Sure.
So for instance, a lot of charities will invest in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and General Electric and so forth. But we invest a small amount of the foundation's funds alongside other investors, typically in a 10-to-1 ratio. So if Organovo got $1 million, you can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But we were the first ones to do the due diligence, economic and scientific due diligence, that gave the other investors the confidence to go ahead. Nobody wants to be first.
That is typical. That's right. Yeah. Now, one thing you did mention that I want to just touch up on before we move on to the next topic is that you mentioned Organovo is working on printing nerve cells. Did I hear you say that correctly?
You did hear me say that correctly.
Because that would seem to be one of the more difficult aspects of age reversal, is the human mind. And of course, we're all familiar with how difficult it is to cure spinal cord injuries and things like that. So is that their angle? Is that their the purpose that they're working on nerve cells at this point, I mean, is to help rejuvenate, like say, spinal cord injuries, or perhaps in future, brain rejuvenation therapies?
I really don't want to speak for them, but what I can say is, what could you not use nerve cells for?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good way to put it. But yeah, that's exciting though that someone is working on that, because the brain, human brain, seems to be one of the more difficult challenges.
My guess is that their initial interest is in peripheral nerves, and nerves to enable building of larger structures. So, as I alluded to earlier, once you have vascularity and innervation, you can then go ahead and build bigger things. But until you have those things, you basically have meat.
Right. Yeah. And that's it. You need functioning.
Now, here's an important point. Since it uses your own cells, there is no rejection issue. It's you.
Yeah, and that's a development that's been that has happened recently that certainly seems to help out in some of these rejuvenation therapies that are in trials. Instead of just, what I had seen earlier in some stem cell research and whatnot is, just the mass application of stem cells in the body part that needed rejuvenation, and of course that didn't seem to work out quite that well. But with the advance of stem cell growth factors, and understanding of the stem cell niche, and then of course also using your own cells as well, it seems that we are looking at some positive developments here for the next couple of years.
Let's take the example of kidneys. Let's say someone has had kidney cancer and they've had their kidneys removed. There's still regular, honest to God people who would love to have kidneys, but there are nowhere near enough kidneys to go around.
There are.
But because you've had cancer, you're very unlikely to qualify to get a kidney even if one is available, because you're not a good quote-unquote candidate. So basically, day after day after day, you spend a significant portion of your life married to machines. That's got it.
Right, although I did see some hope in smaller dialysis-type machines, or basically wearable artificial kidneys. I noticed UCLA has been testing those in the last couple of years.
Right.
Certainly not as good as growing your own new kidney or printing your own new kidney through Organovo, but perhaps that can give some people some relief as well.
Absolutely. There will be many solutions to these, but we need to have some of them show up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Working on it is it's a tough job. You got to have people there beating the pavement, doing the research, getting the hard work done. Which reminds me that on the Methuselah Foundation website, also you mentioned another research partner, and that is the SENS Foundation for people. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and for people who didn't know, the Methuselah Foundation and the SENS Foundation were one organization for most of its history, for Methuselah and SENS history. But just this year, they did split up to more effectively, anyway, that's what I was told, more effectively pursue their own, say, niche in longevity research, in longevity advocacy. And how has that worked out so far since Methuselah and SENS Foundation split, although I know you are still cooperating on some level?
We're still cooperating. Methuselah Foundation still funds SENS Foundation, not exclusively, and all donor commitments via Methuselah Foundation continue to flow to SENS when they were designated for that.
Okay.
And Methuselah Foundation remains the fiscal sponsor of SENS Foundation while it seeks its IRS approval. So, yes, we're good friends.
Okay. Well, I would expect that anyway. I know many of this, people that used to work together, of course, are on different boards now for the two organizations. But I hope everything works out well in that regard. The SENS 4 conference, I want to remind everyone, SENS 4 is coming up this weekend in the UK, and I will be there and hopefully be able to provide you with some interviews and some content. And I just want to remember those of you in the audience that if you did have a question for Mr. Gobel today, that you can please go ahead and ask it. I'll see if I can get to it. But I did want to ask about what are the main barriers that are left, that are still out there, preventing more progress in rejuvenation?